Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Live from Pembroke Pines, Florida. This is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host, Raghunath, and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. Welcome to beautiful Florida, the Panhandle State. Me and Mara arrived about 3 a.m. Is it 3 a.m.? It seems like we should be more well-rested because it's only 8 o'clock. Why are we so wiped out? We traveled for 24 hours.
Yeah, we traveled about 20 hours and then slept maybe 4.5 at the most. So I think it's reason to be wiped out. I think
We
We
started
drove
at 3 a.m.?
4:30 a.m. because
left the house at-
because we had meetings all day down in South Jersey, and then we drove to LaGuardia for our 9
Maybe
p.m.
you were
flight.
trying to do too much in one day, Raghunath. Maybe you should have
sometimes you got to
Okay.
extend yourself for your mom.
No, I'm not saying that you shouldn't go down to see your mom, but maybe you should have gone down to South Jersey like the day before or something like that.
Couldn't have. Just sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
Sometimes you got to do that. Sometimes
Yeah.
Bhakti calls for it.
Yeah, well, maybe. Maybe.
Uh-oh.
maybe
Jimmy
sometimes Bhakti
Jimmy
calls
James is
for
45
better
minutes from
organizing your
Pembroke
life.
Pines. Here come the Floridians on the message board.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you, my brother
Down there
Tom.
in Florida.
There you go. There you go.
How's it
brother.
down there in Florida?
Florida's beautiful. Florida's beautiful and crazy at the same time. You know that. Everybody knows that.
I've spent
I
very
should-
little time
I-
in Florida in my life.
Well,
Very
as soon
little.
as I got here, I was like, man, we live in the sticks. Like, my truck always has mud on it. I was like, none of the cars here have mud on them. This is unbelievable. Everything is
Yeah,
clean.
I just washed my car the other day when we had a nice day last week, and then like the next day, Rag was like, "Your car is filthy."
Car's covered in mud. I know. I was like, where do we live? That
On a
everything is.
dirt
I know, and it is beautiful out. And I think maybe a quarter of my life is wasted in cold, gloomy weather.
Yeah.
Come on, you just spent 2 months in India. Beach in Goa. Give me a break.
Can't I just complain? I got 4 hours of sleep.
Okay, Raghunath. Well, hey, why don't we
We're
get
here for a
into-
week. We're here for a week.
Why don't we get into the show? Okay.
Okay, great.
So I think we start with announcements from Mara. See what she's got.
She doesn't
Yes.
know where she is.
I do. We have back to recover group meetings today. The men meet at noon and the women meet at 2. And Rad Hadassi, formerly known as Ariel Castillo, is offering an asana class for our Patreon members at 10 a.m.
She's down in Florida.
She's in Florida too.
And
that's
Jimmy
right.
James.
And Jimmy James is
How
45
far are you
minutes
f-
away.
How far are you from Miami?
An hour.
Okay. You know who's Charu? Yogi Charu is about to move to Miami. Like right now, he's moving to Miami.
We can go help him move.
We're gonna move to Miami too.
Okay.
Yeah. I think if I move to Miami, there's something about there's like a sort of metric of beauty in Miami. Like everyone's just like
It's like LA.
it's like
People are
like
more beautiful.
I'm gonna drop lower in my beauty. The beauty marker will go lower for me. You know, I'm gonna go down to a 3 or 2. I think.
I'm a 2 down here.
Upstate New York, I'm like Burt Reynolds.
You're the George Clooney of Columbia County.
Okay, Raghu. Now, I didn't send you a nugget today.
Oh, because it was
One,
the Oscars, right? You watched the Oscars last
I did not
night?
watch the Oscars. I have no interest in Oscars. I never watched that kind of thing, like zero.
Then why was the nugget
'Cause-
hashtag the Oscars?
Because people were sending me information about this film that won the big winner this year.
Okay.
Okay, and I thought it was interesting. So, it's this film called Everything, Everywhere, All at Once. Pretty good, intriguing title, right?
Yeah.
All right. And so I'm just, I just looked at the trailer and I read a couple articles on this. And I just thought this is interesting, right? That this one, let me see, it won Best Picture, Best Directing,
Ooh.
and and it won 3 of the 4 acting categories, like Best Female, actor, Best Male Actor, and support. I don't know exactly which ones, but it won big, this one. All right.
What's here?
And so here's the idea: is that I read a couple articles on this, and even like on these spiritual kind of Buddhist or spiritual like websites, they're writing about this film. I never even heard of it. Did you know about it?
Buddhists watch much more movies than we do.
Okay, maybe that's
think
what
that's
it is. But here's the idea. From what I'm picking up, it has, it centers around this Chinese family, and the protagonist is a woman named Evelyn Wang.
Okay.
And she's like, and it starts like in the most, I hope I'm not going to be spoiling it. I don't know very much about it, so I don't think I'll be really spoilers here, but it starts like in the most mundane way. It's like she runs this laundromat, and she lives in the United States. She runs this laundromat, and I think it starts with she and her husband and her daughter are going in to like meet with like someone to help them. What do you call it? Like a CPA or something like that. Someone to help them file their taxes. And so she's just like, it's just like this super mundane world, and there's also all kind of tensions in her family and everything like that, just like mundane family tensions in her life. And then she gets kind of pulled into like a multi-universe kind of thing. And she's given like this whole broader vision about what life is all about. And she has a mission to perform, to save the universe or something like that. But really it has more to like, really what's happening here is that it has to do with her understanding that reality is so much bigger than what her senses are perceiving in her mundane little world. And that life is meant for some kind of self-realization and evolution. And when one becomes more involved, then really it all comes right down to like what's happening in this life, and seeing the people that you live with in a different way, and understanding love, as the center, as the purpose of life in a much deeper way. And
Sounds like you wrote this movie.
I didn't write this movie, but I
Maybe
thought
we
it
should
was
be
really
Maybe we should be making movies.
Maybe we should be making movies. We're gonna.
Maybe we should go on a triple date. Bring mom.
But in any case, I thought it was really interesting, and I think it's great that films like this. It didn't have any big huge stars or anything like that, but it was like the concepts that were there that were helping one expand their mind, consider new possibilities, consider spiritual possibilities, and consider like there's a meaning to life, right? There's a purpose to it. So I wrote down, a lot of people have compared it to The Matrix, although it's kind of like wackier and zanier than The Matrix. It's
Right.
but it plays with ideas of multi-universes, and it plays with this self-evolution kind of thing going on. But I wrote down a few thoughts that I had that like because like you and I have been sharing a lot. We have this faith that bhakti will, it's going to reach people, it's going to transform the world, but we have to. I think it will happen through popular culture, where these kind of Eastern ideas seep into popular culture, and people begin to broaden their perspectives.
The time is now.
Time is now. So this is what I wrote. I said that films like this, they challenge us to expand our mind and consider possibilities, like the idea that we develop a very mundane worldview, right, based on our very limited perception of our senses. Right? If we just take what we get through our senses and that's it, the world is going to look very dull for most of us, but that there are messengers that exist that can wake us up and reveal a vision of the wonder that lies beyond the perception of our senses, and that can chart a path to a much more meaningful life, right? Just this idea that reality is much more exciting than we might believe, but we have to go deeper. We have to hear deeper messages, and then we have to begin to like apply them in our life, map out a course, to make life meaningful. And another one is that just the very idea that life is meant for self-discovery, right? Who am I? Am I this body? I'm plopped in my own laundromat of the world, right? We're all like existing in some kind of circumstance, and maybe when we're young, we have hope that life is going to be exciting. As we grow older, we kind of, most of us find we're kind of like right in the same kind of cycles that we didn't anticipate ourselves falling into, although the whole world does, of like making money and supporting the household and taking care of the family and struggling with everything that involves. That becomes life for people,
Right.
But that there's a purpose of self-discovery, behind life. And if we get that, then everything that's happening to us, the way that the universe is moving, can be interpreted and applied within that context. And now finally, and they say that this is one of the big themes of the film, is that compassion and love lie at the heart of self-discovery, right? That when we actually do understand who we are, when we actually do understand what life is all about, we really understand what love is all about, and the way that we look at the people around us becomes evolves along with that, right? Our relationships evolve with that. So anyway, I thought this is interesting. Well, what do you have any thoughts?
Let's have a Wisdom of the Sages night at the movies.
Yeah, and I watched the trailer, which was interesting, and it's apparently like what happens is like her husband, in the regular mundane, otherwise seemingly mundane world, he kind of like grabs her and he says, "I'm not your regular husband. I'm like this alpha." His name is Waymond, and he says, "I'm Alpha Waymond, and I've got messages from the universe I have to share with you right now." And she's like, she doesn't get it at first, but gradually she begins to have faith. Oh, this is for real. But at the climax of that trailer, he's saying to her, this is what he says. He says, "Every rejection, every disappointment has led you here to this moment. Do not let anything distract you from it." Right? In other words, your whole life, has led, we've all made decisions in this life and previous lives that have led us to the moment that we're here, and everything in life is meaningful. And now that you know that, even though your senses may be dragging you one way or your fears may be dragging you another way, you have to remember that and be brave and step up and don't let anything distract you from your purpose in life. And I think this is what spiritual teachers and spiritual friends and spiritual guides and spiritual literature does for us, right? It's saying like, hey, there's a deeper purpose to this. Don't become distracted. There's a billion ways to become distracted in this world. Be brave, stay focused, and your life will expand in incredible ways, and your relationships will, become much more meaningful, and you'll achieve your purpose,
And this is the whole concept of using a thorn to pull out a thorn. Bless you, Mara. The idea, use this analogy: you go hiking in the woods, and sometimes you step on a thorn, and well, how am I going to get this thorn out of my foot? But you can use another thorn. You could break off another thorn, and you use the second thorn as a tweezers. So this is the concept of working in the world. You work in the world to you use the illusion to get yourself out of the illusion. It's amazing. And that's why I think there's going to be a lot of success in the future, because people are hearing these messages. And again, like the Bhagavad Gita teaches, you don't necessarily giving up your job as a filmmaker, as a storyteller, as a writer, as a podcast speaker, or as an artist, or as a whatever it is. You're using what you're already good at. However your DNA code or your karma, whatever you want to call it, has been programmed in previous lives. We wake up, we think we're going to, the parents are thinking, well, I'm going to lead my child to become a professional drummer. I'm going to lead my child. You can't lead your child. You can try your best, but you got a watermelon seed. Guess what? That watermelon seed mostly is going to give watermelons. It's not going to give cantaloupes or oranges. So no matter how much you think you're leading your child, they also have an imprinted DNA. Now you can decide where you want to grow those watermelons. We can put our child, we can lead our child to do something. They're going to gravitate towards something. You can give them good company, good association, teach them some wisdom, and maybe they'll use their talents in a way that's sort of inspiring to them. But basically, if we can get to the place where where us as searchers are using our talents to assist others on the search, then it's sort of the success of life. It's the joy of life. Can I use everything I've got to help me become free of my attachments, of the things that are tying me to this world, the things that are degrading my consciousness, or and everybody in my universe, like, can I lead my family in the same way too? My kids are becoming teenagers now. So you get to a point of teenage life, you sort of throw your hands up in the air like, okay, I did my thing now. Now it's up to you guys. You're going to have to make these choices for yourself. And you realize how little control you have of your kids, that you gave them something. And now it's really where they're going to land. This is what's going through my head lately.
There's that, is it Chanika that had that shloka, or I forget, but one that it talks about like how to relate to your kids at different ages.
Oh yeah.
And then is it like 16 where like you just become a friend?
Yeah, 16 you become, I think it's maybe even younger or something like that, but you become a friend. First you're like you're maybe a disciplinarian. Yeah. And then and you give them a little bit more freedom. Then obviously they're completely free. And my hope is that, and we're seeing this. So I think I started saying this because a lot of these concepts of Eastern thoughts when we were young were very, very foreign, and it was really for the fringe. But after decades and decades and decades of Eastern teachers coming West, or becoming more and more it becomes part of popular culture now. Now movies are talking about these things, and the food has changed, and the conversation has changed, and we're ready to restructure the way we thought about life and death, and parallel universes, or purpose.
I'm convinced, it's a matter of time, and at a certain point, just the right film is going to come out and crack. It's just like really going to start to shift things. People will become aware of all these things that, like, most of the stuff that we talk about here, or so much of the stuff that we talk about here, most people are unaware of it. Like in the West, even just simple ideas like karma and reincarnation, even simple things like that, they don't understand them very deeply at all.
Why do you think I'm growing out this beard? I'm waiting for Hollywood to call me, say, Raghunath, the Mahabharat rock opera is about to happen. We're looking for a Grandfather Bhishma. Can you do it? I mean, like, I'm ready to sing my beard. Grandfather Bhishma's songs, do his dance.
And now, Raghunath, there was another film that won the Oscar for documentary short film.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
And it was entitled The Elephant Whisperers.
That's what Martine is trying to get me to watch.
Okay, and now I got to read you the description of this. Ready? It was made by these South Indian filmmakers, and here's the description: Bowman and Belly, a couple in South India, devote their lives to caring for an orphaned baby elephant named Raghu.
Oh, his name is Raghu.
Yeah,
Martine, did you tell me that?
Forging a family like no other that tests the barrier between the human and the animal world.
So if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, we have a message board. We do this every day live on Zoom. You can join us at Zoom, wisdomofthesages108@gmail.com. Mara will give you the codes to join our Zoom link. But we have a whole Zoom community that watches every day. There's about 70 to 110 of us daily that do this. And Martine...
Oh, did you see this?
Raghu's friend elephant. So there's a message board that goes on, and Martine from Maine has been saying, Raghu, you got to watch The Elephant Whisperer. Now she's saying, and she's trying to get my son to watch it too, but my son is like very firm in what he wants to watch. So she's saying now that Raghu's friend elephant is Krishna. This is this is sort of a Krishna miracle.
That's a Krishna miracle. I'll grant that miracle status.
Okay. All right, I'm going to watch this movie. Let's watch it with Grandma.
Great.
All right.
I think you should take Grandma Terry to go see the Everything Everywhere All at Once as well.
I've got to see how much Grandma can do.
Okay.
She's moving a lot slower. I can even
Right,
say this
right.
loud because she can't hear anything anymore.
Okay.
So I can talk as much as I want. Matter of fact, I'm going to try to see if we can get Grandma as a walk on Wednesday.
And now Mara told me that she and Grandma Terry are really hitting it off, like these two.
Yeah, we're bonding.
They're bonding.
I think Grandma Terry's going to like Mara for good. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
All right. You ready to
All right,
get
that's
into it?
great. All right, so we're going to watch that show. We're going to watch The Elephant Whisperer for
Elephant
sure
Whisperer.
because we can do that from her little condo. And Everything, Everywhere, Anybody, whatever it's called. Maybe we'll go out on a date,
your
or
own.
maybe we will. Yeah, we could go on a late night date after Grandma's sleeping. It's something about getting old. You keep weird hours. Like my mom was wide awake when we got in at 2:30 last night. She's like, "Hi."
I think they woke her. I think they called and woke her up so we could get in here because we weren't on the list. I think that was part of it.
Yeah. All right.
You ready?
Yep. Narayanam namaskritya naram chaivanarottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tatojayam udirayat. Before we started the Srimad-Bhagavatam, which is the very means of conquest, one should offer respectful obeisances to the Supreme Lord Narayan and to Narayan Rishi, the supermost human being, to Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, and to Srila Vyasadeva, the author. Nasta prayeshva bhadreshu nityam bhagavat sevaya bhagavati uttama bhaktir bhavati naishtaki. By regular attendance in classes in the Bhagavatam and by rendering service to the pure devotee, all that is troubles from the heart will become eradicated. And loving service to the Supreme Lord, who is praised with transcendental songs, will be established as an irrevocable fact. Om Jnana Timarandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmadatam Nena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkness of ignorance, and my teachers are opening my eyes with the torchlight of knowledge. I offer my obeisances at their lotus feet. I've got a genius idea.
Oh, here we go.
No. Check this out. What day is today? Tuesday? I'll get my mom to write out 5 life lessons and bring her on for Walk on Wednesday. Wouldn't that be great? Like, okay, Mom, you're about to be 97 years old. What out of all the information you've gathered in this lifetime?
That sounds good.
Wouldn't that be a great idea?
You never go to the cops.
Never
You
go
work
to the
it out in the
cops.
neighborhood.
Never jump rope, chewing a stone fruit.
Okay, we'll be interested to hear that.
All right, let's see tomorrow
just
morning.
Vet the
Let's see if
answers
we can get-
beforehand. Can you do that for us?
Okay, let's see. Maybe tomorrow we'll get her on. Okay.
Okay.
Reading
right.
from Canto 5, Chapter 7, Text 7.
All right.
All right. So
He has met Radhanath Swami many occasions.
excellent.
No candles, Henry says. No candles. Yeah, that might be one of her.
Yeah.
All right, Raghunath, let's get
Okay.
focused here. Let's get focused. So let's get a little bit of a recap here, right? We're coming down a branch of this lineage coming from, Lord Brahma through Swayambhuva Manu, and then his son Priyavrata, and then we're coming down in this canto. And currently we've come to Bharat, right?
Yep.
There's a very important figure in the history of India, and also he's there in the spiritual literature as well. And we're not going to hear so much about his life as a king. We get 7 verses, that's it. And then it's going to move on, and it's going to describe, more. It's going to describe how he walks away from everything, and then the type of spiritual practice that he goes into, the depth of his spiritual understanding. But then we're going to see he gets a little distracted, right? He gets a little distracted.
It's easy to get distracted.
It's very easy. And because of that distraction, he has to take another birth. He'll take birth as a deer. But
We're just, it seems like, well, oh, come on. Guess what? Life is eternal. You get distracted, and you just gotta learn to keep learning these lessons till you got it straight.
Yeah.
And it might take 4 more lifetimes, 10 more lifetimes, 100 more lifetimes, but you got to get it straight.
That's right. And the more that we can hear from these messengers, right?
Yeah.
That's the whole idea, right? Like the purpose of life is going to be very hard for us to understand, and the possibilities that exist that are beyond the reach of our senses. They're going to be very difficult to understand that unless we hear from sources that are coming from beyond, right? And that's what Bhagavatam is meant to do. It is a source that comes from beyond. And the people speaking through it are messengers, right?
Mhm.
So we get to see, hey, hear this story about Bharat Maharaj. It's a unique story. It's a very far out story, right? It's an extreme story of a person that became extremely, deeply advanced spiritually, but there's a warning there how not to become distracted. So he takes birth as a deer, but he maintains his memory of exactly how he got there.
Right.
And so even as a deer, he's focused. And then in his next birth, he comes back as a Jada Bharata, which means Jada means almost like, I don't know if there's any PC way to say it, but it means he's kind of like a little slow. Let's put it that way, or something like that, right?
He's a little slow.
Dullard.
It's interesting that he got the name Bharata.
Well, I don't know if everyone called him that, or if just like the Bhagavatam,
right? Or
if
if we
just so that we don't forget
have
who
called
he is.
him that, yeah. Like if I take birth and my name is like Judd Capo. Okay.
So in any case, we read 6 verses so far, and the 7th verse is just going to kind of sum up all that we. This is interesting, Raghunath. All that we hear about Bharata, at least in terms of how he ruled, we hear that he had great affection for the citizens, right? And we hear that he engaged them in practices of sacrifice and these rituals of gratitude, But we also hear, and this point is made, Vyasadeva, the author of Bhagavatam, wants us to get this point because it's one of the major themes in Bhagavatam, is that although he's performing these Vedic sacrifices, he wasn't doing them on the shallow, superficial level that many people that study the Vedas and practice these rituals do it on. He wasn't doing it for material things. He was approaching the various devas and devis, the various gods and goddesses, but not for the things of this world. He saw them all as connected to that root of all existence, to that supreme being, to Sri Krishna. And so even when he was worshiping the devas and the devis, he was doing it not for anything material, but out of love for that God of love, for Sri Krishna, who's behind everything. So that's just the one point that he wanted to share with us. If Vyasa wanted to share, was like, yeah, he was doing the rituals like a king should. He had the citizens engaged in a way that was progressive and cultivating gratitude, like we were talking about last week. But he was understanding it on the level of bhakti. He was understanding on the deep level. And text 7 kind of wraps up the message about his life and goes a bit deeper into that idea.
Okay, here we go. Text 7. In this way, being purified by the ritualistic sacrifices, the heart of Maharaj Bharat was completely uncontaminated. Wow. His bhakti, his devotional service unto Vasudeva, Lord Krishna, increased day after day. So he's flying high on a spiritual role. You've been culminating spiritual life your entire life, and now he's just like flying high. He's given up everything. Yeah, like very, very focused. He's in a holy place with holy people. This is like, one of you guys come on pilgrimage with me. You're like, I'm on my A game. Lord Krishna increased day after day. Lord Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the original personality of Godhead, manifest as the supersoul, the Paramatma, as well as the impersonal Brahman. Yogis meditate upon the localized Paramatma situated in the heart. Jnanis worship the impersonal Brahman as the supreme absolute truth. Right? These are the different ways to understand God. Different features. But the devotees, the bhaktas, right? We worship God as Vasudeva, the supreme personality of Godhead, whose transcendental body is described in the Shastras, right? Mm-hmm. He has a body. Yes, he does. Is it like yours? Sorta.
A lot nicer.
It's a lot nicer, and it doesn't decay. It doesn't get scars. It doesn't wrinkle or get pimples, unless he wants them to. His body is decorated with the Srivatsa, right? That's a little marking on his chest. The Kostuba jewel. It's your namesake.
No, I'm the namesake.
You're the namesake of the jewel, yeah. And a flower garland. And his hands hold a conch shell, disc, club, and lotus flower.
So why are those details mentioned? I mean, they're mentioned again and again in Bhagavad, but it's saying, hey, when we're talking about that he has a body, we're talking about he had a real body that you could see and touch and had its own unique features and characteristics.
And although I was joking, it's true. Our spiritual self, right? My spiritual being is different than my material body, in the sense like my hand can get cut off, right?
Yeah.
Or it will age, whereas the spiritual realm has that spiritual body, but it does not decay.
That's really interesting, right, Ragnar? Because I think, like, before I read these books, if you would have used the word spiritual to me, I would think of something that has no form, right? Like,
Sure, it's like ghost-like,
yeah, like
sort of like Casper.
kind of. I would be thinking something. Of course,
It's got a
Casper has
form, but
subtle
it's like you
form.
put your hand through it.
Yeah. I would
Like-
think that spiritual means that which you can't see or touch, right? So, but what these ancient texts are saying, no, try to understand this more clearly, right? Spiritual may be something that you can't see, but not necessarily. There is such a thing as spiritual form. What makes it spiritual? It's made out of a different energy. There are two types of energy. We can call them Purusha and Prakriti, right? Prakriti means that material energy. It means two things. One, it means that it's not conscious. It has no awareness. That means not spiritual, right? And two, it's temporary. It takes on a certain form, and that form is reducible. It's that form breaks down eventually, and all the pieces of it merge into other forms, take on other forms. So that's material energy. But spiritual energy means, one, that it's conscious, it's aware, it has feelings, and two, that it's eternal, that it doesn't break down, right? That it doesn't all disintegrate at some point and take on new forms. So a spiritual form means a form that's made of that energy. The form itself is conscious, and the form is eternal. And Krishna's form is like that.
So when we think of Krishna Lila, someone could argue, well, wait a second, he does grow. He was a baby, and then he was this young, sporty teenager, and then he's a prince in Dwarka. How does that happen? We get forced to grow. My body gets forced to change by the aspect of material nature called time. We're subject to time. Krishna is not subject to time. Krishna grows as he desires to grow. I desire to enter into a newer, what apparently is a material body. Krishna is growing according to his will, and then he wraps up his pastimes and leaves according to his will.
And you know what, Raghunath? Just the fact that you bring this up brings me back to Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Oh my God, this is weird.
Because in that film, from, again, what little I've picked up, the idea is that that the main character, Evelyn, she's got to contact the different Evelyns that are existing simultaneously in the multiverse, right? In the different universes. And so when we say that Krishna grows, yeah, he grows, but not like us. And the fact is that Krishna's baby form exists eternally, right? Krishna's youthful form exists eternally. Krishna's teenage form exists eternally, right? When our body grows, the old one's gone. But Krishna is simultaneously manifesting all these forms for the pleasure of the devotees. And according to your love for him, he will manifest in that form at any given time.
In the Krishna verse.
That's the spiritual realm.
Hmm.
Now you say that to most people, it's like, what are you talking? But we're being called to expand, right? Why? Give me one good reason why that's not possible. You can't give me one.
You can't give one. Yeah.
You can just say, well, we've never seen it. That's not a good reason.
Sure.
Okay.
I mean, why do we think our concept of reality is so real? Like,
That's so little.
it's riddled. Birth after birth, it's riddled with the same illusions. Here I am. I'm the center of the universe. Everybody, then we get broken down to realize I'm not the center of the universe. Here's my family, my kids, and this is my protection. My home is my protection. My bank balance is my protection. Time and time again, we realize they don't protect us. They're not a stable foundation for myself. Yes, life's purpose should be meant to fulfill material desires. You know, I have this desire and that desire, and I'm working towards them, and then they become frustrated. I don't fulfill them in this lifetime. I'm frustrated. Or I do fulfill them, and I realize, what is this about anyway? Okay, I fulfilled all my material desires. You know, it's like that drama has been played out for thousands of years, just with different forms, with different vehicles, right? We do it with our cars, or we did it with chariots, or we did it with horses, or we did it with, in different players in the drama. It's the same drama that's going on. That's why we can relate to books that were written 300 years ago. The people, Romeo and Juliet, they fall in love, but there's some tension there. Why they can't fall. It's the same story.
Yeah.
We're reliving the same story until we realize there's actually a whole nother story going on here. That's what we're trying to do. We're trying to crack the story. We're trying to put a stick in the spoke of the wheel to make it stop all of a sudden, so we can just sort of slow down and think, how do I escape? Can't you see what's going on? I have to check myself on a regular basis also, because we're reading the Bhagavatam every day. Been reading this stuff for 35 years. But sure enough, I'm sort of I'm going along. I'm raising a family. I have a home. And now and then I get caught in that material cycle of expectations of my children, expectations of the future, desires, and I'm trying to, practice bhakti with it. But again and again, I'll get caught up in that. And every now and then, those things get shattered. Those things I started taking shelter in, that I started leaning into, like some solid foundation. It was a great little reunion I had the other day.
What was that?
Me, Henry, and Sachi Sutta.
Nice.
Sachi Sutta. So, Sachi Sutta owns a big record company, Equal Vision Records. We were brahmacharis together. We joined the temple on John Mastami, 1988. He was our tour manager in my band. And then Henry, for a certain time, he came on tour with us with our band. So I met Sachi Sutta and we had lunch together. And then randomly Henry called. So all three of us had this reunion together. And it was just it was almost like Rip Van Winkle. We fell asleep and woke up and now we're old men. Sorry about that, Henry, but you're old too. And it was sort of wow, it's we've been doing it over all these years. We were all a bunch of kids. I met Henry when I was 22 in Vrindavan. I met Sachi Sutta, I've known since he was 17. And we just sort of time went by. We popped out kids. Our kids are grown. Our bodies have changed. We used to be children. And now it's sort of here we are in this next stage of material existence. And that stage where you're married, has some kids, growing up, it's because the body is very, very, it's very it's the prime time of your life. Then with that becomes desires. The desires are there. So you're going in this world trying to fulfill some desires, trying to be responsible and take care of your family. And you realize it's a whirlwind, right? That time in your 20s and 30s and 40s and stuff like that. And once you get into your 50s, especially north of 50, things start to grow. If you did have kids, the kids are getting older. The kids are doing, you're when you're in your 40s, your kids are hey, mom, take me there. Maybe in your 30s, hey, mom, take me there. In your 50s, your kids are mom, I'm going here. They're not necessarily want to hang out with you. They've got their own plans, their own desires, taking them. And in your 50s, you can get really more reflective about life. Right. And that's why the Bhagavatam goes so well with it. So us three are all there sitting there together. It's almost like just seeing our faces made us reflect on life. Yep, and here we are. And we're all eager. All three of us are very eager to be closer and closer to Krishna.
There you go. You know, everything you're saying, I keep going back to this film, which I haven't seen yet, but even just from the trailer, right?
Let's go see this film. Me and Stuba never do anything together.
Why don't we do anything?
No, we'll do a retreat together. We'll go to India together. We never do anything mundane. Let's do something mundane together. Go to a movie. Yeah. Let's go to a movie and then talk about the movie.
Okay, I'm down. Why don't you guys stop on your way back up?
I can't.
You see?
I got kids.
But now listen to this. This is from some website called Spirituality and Practice, and it's a review of this film written by Mika Buki. I don't know how to pronounce the name. Busi. It says before, I'm jumping in a little bit here into the second paragraph, but it says before this and I was just thinking, because I saw the trailer, and in the trailer, the way the trailer starts, Raghunath, it goes right to what you're just saying. And this is the way good artists, they put things together. It shows, it's a close-up of looking inside a washing machine, like a dryer in a laundromat.
Yeah.
And it's just going around and around and around, right? Like that's,
that's great.
Right.
That's material existence.
That illustrates material existence. It's just going. I'm just sitting here in this boring laundromat, and life is just going. Day
that's a beautiful analogy.
After day, right? Yeah.
Especially something like a regular business, like a laundromat, or any business. It's like the office. You're selling paper.
You show up every day.
You're selling paper. You're selling printers. Whatever it is. Every day you're just showing up.
Thunder Mifflin over here.
Yeah. Can I escape that? And escaping just doesn't mean finding your special Pam in the world. It means
it's you and Pam find out about life together, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. So this is what it says. It says, before the fantastical fun begins, the setup seems as mundane as it comes. Evelyn is weary. Right? Any of you out there feel weary? Right?
Feel a little weary today.
Though she's dreamed up tons of potential paths for herself, this aging Chinese American immigrant is spinning her wheels, stuck on the least exciting ones. She has ended up as the perpetually annoyed. Anyone ever feel perpetually annoyed?
Perpetually annoyed.
As the perpetually annoyed purveyor of a laundromat, the wife of the mild Waymond, and the mother of the stubborn Joy. She also the Joy is the name of the daughter.
The stubborn child, yeah.
Yeah, she's got a stubborn child. She's got a mild husband. Everything's mundane. She's also desperately trying to pull receipts together to satisfy the ornery IRS auditor, played by Jamie Lee Curtis, who won an Oscar for it. To add to the stress.
So this is great. You're setting it up like this is typical. This is life.
Right. Yeah. And then it says, to add to the stress, her sour-faced father, Gong Gong, is visiting, and she's trying to hide Joy's queerness and Joy's girlfriend, Becky, from him.
How many people have a sour-faced father? Huh? Put it up on the board. Let me see on the message board. Sour-faced father.
And so, it's just like relationship struggles and people with different values and boring, mundane cycle of life and just struggling.
Stubborn kid. I got a stubborn kid.
I think something like the kid in the multi-universe is like the enemy or something like that. It's something weird like that. Any case, but as Evelyn, Wayman, and Gong Gong arrive at the IRS building to submit their documents, the universe quite literally flips upside down. In the elevator, Wayman suddenly becomes a new version of himself, Alpha Waymond, and he hurriedly reveals to Evelyn that every mistake and decision she has ever made has added to a multiverse in infinite threads, actually entire worlds, that they are now under threat from a force of destructive chaos named Jobu Tupaki, that the only hope of defeating this villain is for Evelyn to enter the multiverse, harness the powers of the different versions of herself in each world, combine them all and fight. So entirely confused and reluctantly curious, Evelyn takes on the challenge.
These guys must have read the Bhagavad Gita, right?
I mean, it's definitely drawing from Eastern stuff. Now it says this, and this is what I feel gets really important. This description might bewilder some potential audience members, but even amidst the endless inventiveness and rapid-fire ridiculousness, a steady through line of self-discovery and growing empathy emerges, right? Self-discovery and growing empathy. And these two go hand in hand, right? This is like in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna saying, what makes you dear to me is, the empathy that you have for, that you're moving through this world trying to not harm any other living being, that you're kind, that you're seeing the soul in every living being. As we discover ourselves and as we discover what this universe is all about, as that grows, our empathy grows.
So the material qualities of lust, greed, anger, envy, etc., those are like information blockers. Yeah, those are like light blockers.
Good one, Roga. So then they wrap up this paragraph by saying, abundant surprises fly by. Like, in other words, it's a really wacky, fast-moving, crazy kind of film. It's using kung fu and everything in it. But It says abundant surprises fly by, but in actuality, Evelyn's increasing understanding of herself and her loved ones. But it's actually Evelyn's increasing understanding of herself and her loved ones that is the main event in the film. Even the
It's
most
the
seemingly
main
throwaway
event.
laugh lines and sight gags begin to take on layers of profundity. Interesting,
Like
right?
it. Like it.
All right. So
Never see it.
here's the theme, right? It's like our lives may seem mundane. If we're just living to try to gratify the body, we're going to get caught up in the laundry cycle of just repeating day after day after day the mundane things, and they will seem to be meaningless. But there are messengers that pop into our lives, right? That are trying to help us understand. You may not, because that's apparently what's going on in the film, is like suddenly her mild, boring husband is telling her, I'm from another universe and I've got a message for you. And there's stuff going on way beyond what you can imagine. And life is far more meaningful than you can even grasp it. And you have to have faith and investigate this, right? And that's what's going on.
This is
in
a
all of our
movie.
lives.
This is reality. This is
Yeah.
reality.
That's
The
reality.
universe is sending us messengers again and again. This movie is like a wake-up call. And, right? This movie is a wake-up call. It's the perfection of this person's writing, directing, the actors acting, etc. If it can help all of us wake up to this spiritual path to shake us out of our mundane existence.
Shake out of it.
Shake out of it. And the universe is sending us messengers to get out of that cycle, because there is otherwise there's a path that the wheel rolls down. You know what I mean? We're sort of here to like put a stick in the spoke, kick the wheel over, escape that figure eight, however you want to call it, by hearing and fine tuning our ears. That's why there's ethics in this world. It's not just to be an ethical being. It's not just to be a compassionate being. It's to become a being of love that's not actually part of this world.
And those ethics will open up opportunities for us to understand.
That's a great way to put it. The ethics open like a secret transport, a secret panel in the wall, a staircase that opens with a bookshelf that spins around into another realm.
Now listen to this, Raghunath. When Alpha Wayman tells Evelyn that she is living the worst version of herself, right? Ooh. Imagine if someone could come from another universe and tell you, hey, the way that you're living right now, you got so much more potential that you're not even aware of. And you're just like getting up, going to work, coming home, watching television, falling asleep. You could be doing so much more with your life, right? So when Alpha Wayman tells Evelyn that she is living the worst version, he's seeing all the different versions of her in the multiverse. And he's saying, right here, you're living the worst version of yourself. And then reveals that she is capable of anything because she is so bad at everything. And I don't know exactly what that means. The jab at first brings a chuckle, but then it unfolds to reveal the deeply existential opportunity that all journeys of inner work contain. The film is full of such double-edged truths and a multitude of moments that start off tickling the funny bone and then immediately open into wider, wiser significance.
Yeah, this is the slap of reality people get. Sometimes sometimes you get, people get an intervention where your good friends that you love sit you down and say, oh, you've got to change. It's over. It's an intervention. And sometimes I've had that. And sometimes we get like these messengers that are like, honey, you should learn to love. But sometimes you need to you have people in your life, the universe sends a person to just say, you two are a couple of fools. I've had teachers come to my life like, you're doing everything wrong. You think you're actually on the path? Oh, you fools. Right. And it's that like wake up call that it comes in so many different servings on the menu. It comes as the main course. It comes as an appetizer. It comes as some dessert. But messengers come and they deliver it. Oh, this one's going to be sweet. This one's going to be bitter. This one's going to be savory. But it's going to come. And it's interesting because the universe is trying us to get. The universe itself is trying to get us to reconnect so bad.
Mm.
But most of the time, it's just like I can't hear it. I'm not interested in the meal. I've got my own agenda.
There's just too much going on. I'm caught in the cycle.
I'm caught in a cycle that won't give me a break.
Right.
And we need a chance to breathe. All this stuff, chance to breathe, so we can hear. A chance to breathe, so we can get some access point out of this wheel.
Messengers, access points, breaking cycles.
Interventions.
Okay.
Matter of fact, Kostuba,
Oh, what is it?
I was
Tell
sent
me,
for
Ragnar.
you.
Tell
I
me.
was sent for you to
Okay.
intervene.
Very good. Oh, I think we're out of time.
We're out of time. Okay, we're gonna be more chipper and cheery tomorrow.
All right. And you're gonna watch The Elephant Whisperer?
I'm gonna watch The Elephant Whisperer today. First of all, I'm gonna get in the sun. I didn't plan this, but there's a horrific snowstorm going on back home. When I say horrific, it could be angelic, depending on how you look at it.
There's a couple soft little flurries floating down.
Yeah, it's gonna get bad. It's gonna get real bad.
It's gonna get bad.
It's gonna get real bad.
All right. So, Mara, do we have any takeaways today?
Yeah, I got some good stuff today.
All right.
The time is now.
There you
Boom.
go. That's a T-shirt, right?
That's a Warzone song, I think.
Is it?
Reality is more exciting than we could believe.
It really is.
Is it?
Is it though? Oh, you doubter.
Stay focused and go deep.
Should we?
The universe is moving to encourage our self-discovery.
Is it really though?
Really?
Use the illusion to extract yourself from the illusion.
Must I?
Compassion and love are at the heart of self-discovery.
That's right.
Are they?
They are.
Don't get
We
caught.
represent the doubting mind.
Don't get caught in the laundry cycle of the mundane.
That's right.
The universe is sending messengers.
Left and right, Raghunath.
Boom, hitting me on the head sometimes.
And put a stick in your own spokes and shake it out.
Put a stick in it.
Put a stick in it. Put a stick in your own
What is it?
spokes.
And do what? Put a stick in your own spokes and what?
Shake it out.
What's shake it out from?
Shake it out.
Who said shake it out today?
Guess you
I
said
did.
it. That
Shake
was
it
you.
out. Shake it off.
Shake it
Shake
out.
it off.
Shake it off. That's the song, right?
Shake it off.
Very popular one from what I understand.
I thought you were definitely going to say, I'm the George Clooney of upstate New York. I thought that
He did. Oh, I see.
No, I thought that was a takeaway.
What does that tell us about it?
In Miami, I'm the mini me of Miami, but the George Clooney of upstate New
Just
York.
Columbia County, not all of upstate. Just Columbia County.
You can't even wash your car where I live. You can't even wash your car. It gets covered in mud as soon as you drive it up the dirt road.
That means you're just meant to not have a car, Raghunath. You're meant to wander barefoot.
Maybe I just need a horse. Ride my sheep. The horse will get dirty too.
Those sheep are really dirty, Raghunath. I just have to say this. Whenever I go up to the sheep, they look really dirty.
Okay, well, come up and power wash them.
Aren't you supposed to wash them occasionally?
In their coats, you know? Like,
Yeah, they get tons of burrs all over their face.
Yeah, you got to take care of that for them, right?
I'd be combing sheep all day. These guys, they can be totally clean, then they'll stick their face in a thing of burrs, and they'll get covered in burrs.
Don't you get like a brush and get that out for them?
Ah, Kostuba.
Brush your sheep, Raghunath.
Brush your sheep. That's a good takeaway. Brush your sheep.